The global political landscape is bracing itself for the potential return of Donald Trump to the White House. The mere possibility of his return has already started to ripple through international corridors of power, causing both allies and adversaries to reassess their strategies and policies. Let us understand how it will shape global trade and economics behind it. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more deep dives into global politics and economics. His first presidency, marked by a volatile foreign policy and an aggressive trade war with China, sent shockwaves through the international system. The unpredictability of his decisions, from sudden tariff impositions to abrupt policy shifts, left many nations scrambling to adapt. Now, as the possibility of a Trump 2.0 presidency looms, China is carefully analyzing the past to prepare for a potentially turbulent future. The Chinese leadership is meticulously reviewing the events of the previous administration, identifying patterns, and strategizing on how to mitigate potential risks. Trump's America First agenda placed China squarely in the crosshairs, labeling it a strategic competitor and an economic threat. This adversarial stance was not just rhetoric. It translated into concrete actions that significantly impacted bilateral relations. The ensuing trade war, characterized by tit-for-tat tariffs on billions of dollars worth of goods, disrupted global supply chains and created uncertainty in the global economy. Businesses around the world felt the tremors, with many having to rethink their supply chain strategies and sourcing practices. This experience has left an indelible mark on Beijing, prompting a strategic recalibration to navigate the challenges of a potentially more hostile United States. Chinese policymakers are now more cautious, seeking to build economic resilience and reduce dependency on American markets. China, under the leadership of Xi Jinping, is acutely aware of the stakes involved. The leadership is not just focused on economic strategies but also on strengthening military capabilities and forging new alliances to counterbalance American influence. A second Trump administration could reignite trade tensions, escalate geopolitical rivalry, and further complicate an already fraught bilateral relationship. The potential for increased tariffs, sanctions, and diplomatic standoffs looms large, making the international community wary. The specter of Trump 2.0 hangs heavy, pushing China to bolster its defenses, diversify its partnerships, and strengthen its position on the world stage. This involves not just military preparedness, but also economic and diplomatic initiatives aimed at reducing vulnerabilities. The outcome of this strategic maneuvering will have profound implications not only for China and the United States, but for the future of the global order. The balance of power, international trade norms, and global governance structures could all be reshaped by the actions of these two giants. As the world's two largest economies and most powerful nations, their ability to manage their differences and find common ground will be crucial in addressing pressing global challenges. Climate change, global health crises, and economic stability are just a few areas where their cooperation, or lack thereof, will be felt worldwide. The Trump administration's trade war with China, launched in 2018, represented a significant departure from decades of U.S. economic policy. For years, the United States had pursued a strategy of engagement and cooperation with China, believing that economic integration would lead to mutual benefits and a more stable global economy. However, the Trump administration took a different approach, viewing China as a strategic competitor that needed to be confronted more aggressively. Trump, accusing China of unfair trade practices and intellectual property theft, imposed tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods. These tariffs were intended to pressure China into changing its trade policies and to protect American industries from what the administration saw as predatory practices. The move was controversial, sparking debates about the effectiveness and potential consequences of such a hardline stance. This ignited a tit-for-tat tariff war, with China responding in kind, targeting key American exports like soybeans and automobiles. American farmers who had long relied on the Chinese market suddenly found themselves struggling to sell their crops. Similarly, the American automobile industry faced new challenges as tariffs made their products more expensive and less competitive in the Chinese market. The impact of these tariffs was felt across both economies. In the United States, businesses that relied on Chinese imports saw their costs rise, leading to higher prices for consumers. In China, manufacturers faced decreased demand for their products, which in turn affected their production and employment levels. The ripple effects of the trade war extended beyond the two countries, influencing global markets and supply chains. American businesses and consumers faced higher prices for imported goods, while Chinese exporters struggled with decreased demand. The increased costs were often passed on to consumers, leading to higher prices for everyday items. Meanwhile, Chinese factories had to adjust to the new reality of reduced orders from one of their largest markets, which led to layoffs and economic slowdown in some regions. The trade war also disrupted global supply chains as companies scrambled to adjust to the new tariffs and trade barriers. Many businesses began looking for alternative suppliers outside of China, leading to a reconfiguration of global trade routes. This shift was not without its challenges, as establishing new supply chains required time and investment and often resulted in higher costs and delays. While the Trump administration argued that the tariffs were necessary to protect American jobs and intellectual property, the trade war ultimately proved costly for both sides. The intended benefits, such as a reduction in the trade deficit and stronger protections for American intellectual property, were not fully realized. Instead, the tariffs contributed to economic uncertainty and strained relations between the two largest economies in the world. The tariffs failed to achieve their stated goals and instead contributed to economic uncertainty and a decline in bilateral trade. The reduction in trade between the US and China had broader implications for the global economy, as other countries and businesses had to navigate the fallout from the trade war. The uncertainty also affected investment decisions, with companies hesitant to commit to new projects amid the ongoing tensions. The trade war serves as a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of the global economy and the potential for significant economic damage when major powers engage in protectionist policies. The experience highlighted the risks of relying too heavily on a single trading partner and underscored the importance of diversifying supply chains and markets. It also prompted discussions about the need for new approaches to international trade and economic policy. As China prepares for the possibility of a second Trump administration, it is drawing valuable lessons from this experience, seeking to mitigate its vulnerabilities and enhance its resilience in the face of future economic coercion. Chinese policymakers are focusing on strengthening domestic industries, expanding trade partnerships with other countries, and investing in new technologies to reduce dependence on foreign suppliers. These strategies are aimed at ensuring that China can better withstand external pressures and continue its economic growth despite potential challenges. The trade war initiated by the Trump administration served as a wake-up call for China, exposing its reliance on the US market and highlighting the vulnerability of its export-oriented economy. In response, Beijing has embarked on a multi-pronged strategy to fortify its economic defenses and reduce its dependence on the United States. One key aspect of this strategy involves diversifying China's trading partners. Beijing has been actively strengthening economic ties with other countries and regions, particularly those involved in its ambitious Belt and Road Initiative. This infrastructure development project, spanning Asia, Africa, and Europe, aims to enhance connectivity and boost trade between China and participating nations. Furthermore, China is accelerating efforts to bolster its domestic market. The government is pursuing policies aimed at increasing domestic consumption and reducing reliance on exports. This includes promoting innovation, fostering entrepreneurship, and expanding its middle class, creating a more self-sufficient and resilient economy. By diversifying its trading partners and strengthening its domestic market, China seeks to mitigate the impact of potential future trade conflicts with the United States. These efforts are central to Beijing's broader goal of achieving greater economic security and reducing its susceptibility to external pressures. China's economic strategy extends beyond simply weathering the storm of potential future tariffs. It is a comprehensive approach designed to fortify the nation's economic foundation against external shocks and uncertainties. This strategy is not just about surviving but thriving in a rapidly changing global landscape. It represents a fundamental shift towards greater self-reliance and technological independence. By focusing on homegrown innovation and reducing reliance on foreign technology, China aims to build a more resilient and self-sustaining economy. Beijing recognizes that true economic security lies in reducing its dependence on foreign powers, particularly in critical sectors like technology. This realization has driven the country to invest heavily in its own technological capabilities, ensuring that it can stand on its own in the face of global competition. The Made in China 2025 initiative, launched in 2015, exemplifies this ambition. This initiative is a strategic blueprint aimed at transforming China from a manufacturing giant into a global leader in advanced technologies. This strategic plan aims to transform China from a manufacturing giant into a global leader in advanced technologies, including artificial intelligence, robotics, and aerospace. By focusing on these high-tech industries, China seeks to move up the value chain and compete with the world's leading technological powers. By investing heavily in research and development, fostering indigenous innovation, and attracting top talent, China aims to climb the value chain and become a technological powerhouse. This involves not only developing new technologies, but also creating an ecosystem that supports continuous innovation and growth. This pursuit of technological self-sufficiency has become even more pronounced in light of the US government's actions to restrict Chinese access to American technology and markets. These restrictions have highlighted the vulnerabilities in China's tech sector and underscored the need for greater self-reliance. The Trump administration's blacklisting of Chinese tech companies like Huawei and ZTE, citing national security concerns, has further fueled China's determination to achieve technological independence. This move has accelerated China's efforts to develop its own technologies and reduce its reliance on foreign suppliers. China's drive for self-reliance in technology is a long-term strategic objective with profound implications for the global balance of power. As China continues to invest in its technological capabilities, it is positioning itself as a formidable player on the global stage. As China closes the technological gap with the West, it will reshape global industries, challenge existing technological dominance, and potentially reshape the geopolitical landscape. This shift will have far-reaching consequences, influencing everything from global trade patterns to international relations. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more deep dives into global politics and economics.